Hey guys, we are back for another reaction video. In tonight's video, I'm going to be reacting to a recent video that I did. This was 11 days ago. It's called Technical Death Metal is a Joke. Is a joke is in all caps. I must have been really mad when I made this video. But I made this 11 days ago and it got a bunch of engagement actually. It has 43 comments. That's a lot for one of my videos. And so I did comment on the video. I did reply to some of the comments, several of the comments, but there were a lot of unique comments, and I'm going to go through the comments, and I'm going to do it by newest. So I'll start with the oldest ones first. I'm just going to scroll down to the very bottom. Okay, so first of all, let's turn this off. And before we read the comments, we're going to rewatch the video. All right, so let's resize this screen here. I think it's already resized. Hey guys, I got a quick video here. Just a heads up, I'm reading from a script. There is a script, there's a text file script underneath my web camera right here. Okay, keep going. So, this video is in response to the recent controversy about fake drummers that was brought on by the Archspire drummer auditions. So I'm just going to give some context to the video. Archspire is a technical death metal band, popular tech death band from Canada, I believe, and apparently their drummer left or is leaving, and so they're holding auditions, virtual auditions. So if anyone wants to virtually audition for their band, they can post a video of themselves playing one of their songs and post it to YouTube or Instagram, and they can use the Archspire audition hashtag in the video. And so people have been doing this. There were 3 videos that I watched, and the controversy being some of the people who were submitting the auditions, other people noticed that they were editing their videos. And so they were getting called out on that. Watched one being the video where Mike Caputo calls out Lord Marco. That's this one right here. That's a very good video. This is the video that sort of started everything, actually, this Mike Caputo video. Mike Caputo is also a drummer. Lord Marco is a drummer as well. I think Lord Marco posted an Archspire audition video, and then people in the comments were saying that Lord Marco should be, you know, the new drummer for Archspire. And I think Mike Caputo, he talks about this in his video. You should definitely go watch this, even if you're not into music. I mean, everyone's into music. Even if you're not into technical death metal, you should watch this because it's you know, all these videos that I'm mentioning in this video, they're very good. But Lord Marco posted an Archspire audition, and then I think Mike Caputo commented to the commenters in the video who said that Lord Marco should be the new Archspire drummer, and he was saying that how Lord Marco edits his videos, and then Lord Marco was saying, "Oh no, I don't edit," and then Mike Caputo basically created this video to prove that he does edit them. So it's a very good video. The second one being the video where Craig Reynolds calls out Riccardo Merlini, which is right here. It's another very good video. Riccardo, these are both drummers. Craig Reynolds is this guy. Riccardo Merlini is this guy. Craig Reynolds has a video series entitled Natty or Not. So it's like natural or not. Is this drummer actually playing, or are they using tools? And so he revived his video series in order to do this Archspire audition video that Riccardo Merlini posted. And Craig Reynolds noticed that in Riccardo Merlini's audition video, there were a couple times where, I don't know if it was a couple times, but there's one specific time that I'm thinking of where you could see that he was hitting the snare with his stick, and the last couple hits were much weaker than the previous hits. And then you listen to the audio, and the audio didn't change at all. There were no dynamics. It was just really hard hitting the entire time. And so that's the kind of editing that people like to do. And that's another really good video. I've watched a whole bunch of the Craig Reynolds videos. Very good videos. And third, a video by Tank the Tech that reacts to both of those videos and talks about YouTube/Instagram musicians in general. And that is right here. Yeah, so that is exactly what I just said. Another good video. This was the first Tank the Tech video I've ever watched. And it was very timely because this was right around the controversy. And all three of these videos were what inspired me to make this video. All of those videos are really good, so you should definitely check them out. Exactly. Now, those drummers were being called out for editing their videos, and rightly so. I'm all for that. But what about all the musicians whose playing gets edited on their albums? How many guitarists use overdubs and punch-ins on their albums? Like almost all of them? Yeah, exactly. So this is this is what made me want to make the video as well. So this was the sort of the logic trap I was falling into here. So these drummers were getting called out for editing their videos and editing their audition videos. And yeah, I mean, that sounds good to me. I enjoyed watching those videos. And I like how they were getting called out, but it seems funny because everyone else edits their stuff as well. Even though it's in a different setting, like albums, that was my problem. I was talking about how everyone edits their performances on their albums. And then these guys are posting audition videos that have been edited. And I was like, well, what's the difference? If they're going to audition with edits and they're going to plan an album with edits, then what's the difference? Who cares? But everyone else is like, they're piling onto these drummers for posting the fake auditions, but they're basically just saying, oh, you're not supposed to edit like that. You're supposed to edit like this. It's okay to use edits if you use them like this, but you can't do it like this. And that's the logic I don't understand. And so I ended up doing this video. And the reason I'm doing this video right now is because for this video that we're watching, it's only 4 minutes long. I prepared a script. I didn't feel comfortable sort of rambling on like I normally do in my videos because they're like over an hour long all the time. I wanted to make it concise and get the point across. So I did write a script and I read from it. And now with this video right now, I'm going to elaborate on it. Even one of the Archspire guitarists admits to using editing in this video right here. If Riccardo Merlini was tracking that song on the Archspire album, the exact same editing he used in his video would also happen on the album, and it would be accepted and expected. But why? Why is it okay to use editing on an album, but not a YouTube/Instagram video? I'm not trying to defend these guys for editing their videos. I'm trying to expose virtually every other musician for doing the same thing on their albums. Exactly. So, by the way, I'm not trying to criticize Dean Lamb. Dean Lamb is one of the guitarists for Archspire. He's obviously an amazing guitarist. I've watched a whole bunch of his videos. But yeah, in this video he admits to using edits on his albums and even in some of his YouTube videos as well. And that's so I thought it's funny, you know, the guy in the band admits to the band using edits, and then these drummers who are auditioning for the band are getting piled on by people complaining that they're editing their videos. I don't understand. I remember listening to Onset of Putrefaction by Necrophagist. Great album. At least two of the songs, at least. Yeah, truth be told, I only like two of the songs. Track 1 is amazing, and then track 4 is amazing as well. Except track 4 has a really long solo that I don't care for. Necrophagist there's a lot of solos, and I don't care about any of that. I'm only interested in the rhythm guitar parts. And the solo in Foul Body Autopsy, that's track 1, is very short, and so I don't mind it. I'm not interested in guitar solos. But this album right here, Onset of Putrefaction, this was pretty influential for me as a musician because it was extremely tight guitar playing, really fast, brutal riffs, And I looked up to it while I was trying to improve my own guitar playing. When I was 17 or 18 years old and when I was 17 or 18 years old, to play guitar as tight as them. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized just how overproduced, inhuman, and fake that album's guitar playing is. Yeah, I mean, it's literally probably the cleanest guitar I've ever heard. It's like tech death, technical death metal right down here. There's literally no mistakes, at least that I can remember. I mean, I only listened to 2 of the songs, but I mean, they're really hard to play, and it's just perfect. It's the cleanest guitar playing ever. Their next album, Epitaph, I think it's called, the rhythm guitar playing, it's at least the guitar tone, it sounds dirtier. But the guitar tone on here is extremely clean, and the playing is extremely clean. And so there's no way it's real in the sense that it's a guy playing guitar. It must have been edited, like recorded in sections. And yeah, it's just way too perfect and clean. I mean, just listen to the demo version of Foul Body Autopsy from 1995, which is really cool, by the way. Yeah, so they released a demo album in 1995, like I said, and Foul Body Autopsy, which is the song I mentioned, it's track 1. It's on that, and it sounds like real guitar playing. I think there's actually a real drummer too, but the guitars sound real. And it's so different from the album version, the Onset of Putrefaction version. It's night and day. I mean, go listen to it for yourself. It actually sounds like a real guitarist. I've been putting out tech death for over 20 years, and I can't... Oh, have you? I can't even listen to other tech death bands because their albums just sound so overproduced. Okay, harsh, but true. Pick out a modern tech death band, load up one of their albums, and the drums sound fake, and the guitars sound inhumanly perfect. Literally every tech death band I try to listen to. It's unlistenable. Yeah, I've gotten to a point where it's literally unlistenable. I can't listen to the new school. I say new school, but it's basically since this album, since Onset of Putrefaction, for like the last 24 years. Any album after that, it's basically it's too overproduced. What is the point of writing and practicing challenging music to then record it in such a way that it sounds inhuman? That defeats the entire purpose of playing an instrument and creating challenging music. Yeah, so that's my biggest thing about all this editing on the album. Because this is technical death metal. It's one thing, people make the argument that all music uses editing. But the problem is with technical death metal, the musicians are they're going to their extremes in terms of their ability. So they're like playing as fast as they can, trying to cram as many notes in as possible, trying to play as cleanly as possible at these really fast speeds. So they're already amazing musicians, and then they're using editing to fix their playing so it's even better. It makes no sense. And then they don't even tell people what was edited on the album and how it was edited. Yeah, so if you look at it like a tool-assisted speedrun, so if there are any people out there who play video games, you know what I'm talking about, a TAS. So normally you play a video game, and these people who speedrun video games, they try and get through the game as fast as possible, and it's like a competition, right? And then there's 2 categories. One is you actually play it, like on the console or on the computer or whatever. And then there's another category that's TAS, tool-assisted speedrun. So you're able to use tools, you're able to use saves, like save states, and you're able to sort of program movements in order to perform tricks that may not be possible by an actual person. But in in the video game community, you have to label your TASs as TAS. Otherwise, you're sort of submitting these, you're trying to compete with the people who are running the game normally, and that's cheating. Now, this is music, so it's not a competition, but it sort of is a competition, especially with technical death metal as well, tech death. Because people, the musicians are pushing themselves to the extreme, and they're being inspired by each other and trying to play as fast as possible. And it is a sport, even though it's, there's not a scoreboard or anything like that. It's still art, but it's still a sport. And it's not just tech death that can fit into that category. I feel like there's definitely other super technical forms of music, like classical music, obviously, and jazz as well. I'm probably forgetting about other genres, but there are certain genres of music that are also sports in themselves. If they want to use overdubs and punch-ins and quantization and copy paste and triggers and samples to achieve the perfect sound. Okay, I said a lot of stuff there. Now, if anyone is watching this and they don't know what any of that means, I'll show you. I will quickly show you. So I have Reaper open right here. So let's open this. I'm just going to turn this up. Okay. So this is something that I recorded a little while ago. So this is a song, by the way, if you don't know what this is. And this track up here, that's the kick. So the kick drum, the bass drum, this is the snare drum. These are microphone inputs. Snare drum, rack tom, floor tom, left cymbals, right cymbals, guitar 1, guitar 2, so basically left guitar, right guitar, and then vocals, and then keyboards. I don't know why that is on record. So anyway, this is how you record your song. You plug your microphones in. Like this microphone is attached to like a mixer, and it goes in my computer. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I don't know. I shouldn't have done that, by the way, because I still have to refer to the video. So let's go back here. Further edited. If they want to use overdub, okay, overdubs. So what an overdub is say you record something, you record a song, you play guitar for like 3 minutes, however long the song is, but you make a mistake at like the 1 minute mark, and you just want to fix that mistake. So you go to the 1 minute mark, and then you record over it, just for that part. So that's an overdub. And punch-ins. Punch-ins is similar to overdubs. Punching in is when I don't know the technical term for it, but basically, so let's say you could maybe I'm using the terms incorrectly, but punching in is the same thing. You record something and then you want to punch in at this spot. So basically at the 1 minute mark, you would punch in and then punch out. And then what else did I say? And quantization and copy paste and triggers and samples to achieve so on the album. So there's one thing I didn't mention. This is why I wanted to rewatch that section. So along with the punching in and the overdubs, you can also record in sections, record a song in sections. So you just like pick a tiny little section, record that as good as you can, and then go to the next section. And then so you play the song after you've recorded all the parts, and it sounds really good because you recorded it in sections. It's like a guy running the 1,500 meters, right? The 1,500 meters in track and field. And so basically he starts from like way behind. He starts from like behind the start line, and then he starts sprinting as fast as he can. And when he hits his top speed, that's when you start the timer. And he runs for like maybe 40 meters. And he runs for 40 meters, top speed. And then you stop the timer when he reaches 40. And then he starts again. He stops running. He goes back and he starts sprinting again as fast as he can. When he hits his top speed, you hit the timer. And then you just keep doing that until you've ran 1,500 meters. And then obviously, because you're sprinting at top speed for 40 meters at a time, you're going to have a really fast time. That's going to be way faster than the world record for the 1,500 meters, because that's a long distance and you have to pace yourself. And so you want to have the best. That's what people do when they're recording albums. They record it in sections, and so it can sound the best that it can. So what else did I say? And how it was edited. If they want to use overdubs and punch-ins and quantization. Quantization, that is when, okay, you see these lines here. Oh, I have it turned off. Where is the grid? Is that the grid? I think that's the grid. Yeah. So these vertical lines here. So these are basically like the pulses. So the time signature. Where's the time signature? Now this specific song doesn't have a time signature because I started it by, what did I do? I improvised the drums. So I wasn't playing along to a kick. So, but normally with a song, it has a time signature or several time signatures. And then you can split up the time signature into pulses. You can split up the measures into pulses, and then each of these lines would lie on a pulse. And so quantization is when you would record an instrument and you would align the instruments with the pulses. And so there's no timing mismatch, because normally you play something and you won't hit exactly, like if you zoom in really fast, really far, you're playing, your notes won't hit with the pulses exactly. But quantization moves stuff so that it aligns to the grid, so that you're playing in perfect timing. So it sort of computerizes your playing, and it makes it sound really tight. And then copy paste is, what copy paste is. Say, with basically all forms of music, a section of the music will appear later in the song and so forth. Especially with pop music, a lot of it is just, it repeats a lot. And so what you would do, you would just record a specific section, and then you'll copy that section that you just recorded and paste it later in the song when it appears again. Then triggers and samples to achieve so triggers and samples are referring to drums. So when people play drums, they can attach a trigger to their drum so that when you hit your drum, it sends a signal through the trigger. And I think I've never used triggers, but apparently it goes into like some sort of computer thing, and you can choose what kind of sample you use. Like for the bass drum, the most popular thing in metal is to trigger the bass drums. And then with sample replacements, you can like replace the entire kit, like the toms, the snare, and the kick drum as well. So that seems to be a pretty popular thing to do as well. And I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say. Perfect sound for their album. Then I feel they should let their listeners know, because that's what the listeners listen to. Their fake sounding albums. Yeah. And so people try and justify, all the editing on albums. But that's what I don't understand, especially when it comes to technical death metal, because all of these fans of tech death are listening to these albums and they're thinking, oh, wow, these guys are amazing. But, there's so much editing on these albums that there's no way to know how good they are by listening to an album. An album is supposed to be the culmination of their creativity and hard work, but it just ends up being a complete waste that sounds like computers playing the instruments instead of humans. Yeah, so you write your album, you practice all the songs, you go into the studio to record, or you record it at home. And I know if you're listening to an album, you probably think, oh yeah, I'm listening to a band playing a song. But no, it's not like that at all. As just like when I opened Reaper, I showed you how an album is recorded. As a listener, I have a pretty high threshold for a musician's sloppiness, so I would much rather just listen to a regular human, mistakes and all, instead of a superhuman with tools and editing. Let me know in the comments if you know of any modern, raw technical death metal bands. Do they even exist? Yeah. Do they exist? Do they even exist? Do they even exist? Do they exist? Do they even exist? Do they? Yeah. Shout out to Fred Armisen. I realized that I ripped off Fred Armisen there at the end there. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I knew it had something to do with Fred Armisen. Okay. All right, so let's listen, or let's not listen. Let's read some of the comments. Okay, so we're starting at the very end. So this says, "Great. Now I'm paranoid about how much of the music I listen to, is real or fake." And I post, "It might be close to 100% that is edited." Seriously. Now, this obviously depends on what kind of music you listen to. Certain genres feature more editing than others. But if you listen to like modern tech death and the really popular stuff, then yeah, absolutely. Basically, any mainstream form of metal will definitely be quite heavily edited, I imagine. But this guy says Nick Menza was actually 4 little people in a foam rubber suit. Now, I've heard of that name, Nick Menza, but I don't know who that is. Let me know how much of a noob I am. This guy says, if it sounds the same whether it's played for real or edited, does it even really matter? Yes, it absolutely does. If it sounds the same whether it's... wait a minute. If it sounds the same whether it's played for real or edited, does it even really matter? Unless you see it as some kind of competition instead of music. So it is a competition. It absolutely is. And if there are... I mean, just ask any of the musicians. It's absolutely a competition. We're trying to outdo ourselves and each other because it just keeps getting crazier and crazier and crazier, right? It's absolutely a competition. A friendly competition, but a competition nonetheless. But I don't really understand what he's saying here. If it sounds the same, whether it's played for real or edited, does it even really matter? So, I mean, if it was edited then, and it sounds the same if it was real, why would they edit it? I'm not following that thing there. This guy's, I think he's got the highest thumbs up ratio here. There's something weird with YouTube. Sometimes my thumbs up stuff doesn't get registered. I think all of my hearts get registered. So sometimes, yeah, I don't know if I did this. I feel like I give a thumbs up. I also feel like sometimes I get shadow banned on my own videos. Like, because sometimes I'll post a comment and it doesn't even appear. And I've looked on, Google to see what's happening, and I don't know what's going on. But anyway, this guy says, watching a live video of Necrophagist guitarist proves there is indeed some insane level of talent there, regardless of how punched in the studio albums are. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a really good guitarist. Yeah, definitely. I remember watching a live video of Necrophagist as well, and it sounded like a real guitar in the live video. It's just my... when I was criticizing Necrophagist for having really clean guitar playing, it was on the Onset of Putrefaction album. It's inhuman. I find that I can't really enjoy the super shreddy over-the-top editing on some albums, but it totally depends on the band and the overall production. I honestly love hearing the real raw playing in black death metal when you can hear a slight mistake being made. Yeah, me too. That's the best, honestly. Not just black and death metal, but all forms of music. I love when you can hear a mistake. Some music is so sloppy. And even if it's good music, it's still good music. I find that funny. I like that. If there's a song that I like that I like the music part of it, but it's played extremely sloppily, I always find that amusing, and I still like the song despite the sloppiness of it. A simple miss of the hi-hat or snare in a blast beat section, or being slightly off time for a second or less. I listen to a lot of stuff from the 90s for that reason. These days, it is so hard to find a modern metal band that is doing anything remotely unique without going so far underground. Yeah, that was my complaint as well. That's why I appreciate your music as well, and being able to see the behind the scenes of your past music. Have I given behind the scenes of my past music? I don't know if I have. It's meticulous and skillfully created at a high level and uncompromising. Some of the best music is made for the enjoyment of the creator and a handful only. Okay, well, this guy was being very nice to me, so thank you for that. I should definitely make some more videos about behind the scenes stuff. It's just, I can't do shit with my wrist lately. It's been 6 months now. So I'd like to, if I can get back to that, I'll start making some more actual music videos. Okay, let's go here. They exist, but they are local bands that haven't and probably won't break through unless they do what the bands you discussed do, i.e. overproduce their records. I know one or two from my area that are raw, but again, they only have a local following. But he didn't list the bands. I would have liked to check them out. Ad Nauseum. Thanks, cool band. Yeah, so I did not know about this band, but I did check the band, and yeah, they're pretty cool. Definitely interesting music there. It's the type of music that you're like, how do they even come up with those melodies? It just sounds so weird. And it's also the type of band where you're like, how are they tuned? Are they tuned to standard? Like, are they tuned like a normal guitar, or are they in some strange tuning? Because the melodies are so strange. But yeah, I listened to one song, I think, on their Bandcamp, and I also checked out a live video on YouTube. Very cool band. They're from Italy, apparently. Oh yeah, so this guy, I don't think he liked my video. By the way, I was sort of shitting on the entirety of Tech Death, at least the way it was recorded, and the title of my video was pretty clickbaity. What was it called? Technical Death Metal is a Joke? I was expecting to be sort of shit on a lot more. But no, people were very, they did not shit on me as much as I thought. Did you even watch the videos or just read the titles and assume what it's about? Don't need to answer. Can tell you haven't. There's no red bars showing you viewed them, and your points aren't even relevant to what they were saying. I did reply to this guy. Both Tank and Mike say they have absolutely no problem with what you're talking about. The problem they have is these guys that are pretending and claiming that they aren't, and it's damaging the music as a whole. Kid has a go at playing an instrument, realizes nothing he could do is ever going to even come close to those fake videos, and quits. That kid could have been the next star. Okay, I don't know about that. But that happened to me with Necrophagus. That's what I was complaining about. And that was on an album. Not only that, but people are very, he says very a lot, aware a studio-produced album is made this way, piece by piece, and redone over and over until it's perfect. I don't think so. I don't think people realize that. When someone is uploading a live playthrough of a song to show their talent and claiming it isn't edited is the issue and is far removed from whatever angle you've decided to come at it from. Now, yes, that's definitely uncool if you're portraying a live video as being unedited. Now, I don't think Riccardo Merlini was doing that in his video, but indeed, I don't even think Lord Marco was doing that either. with his specific Artspire video. He was doing it to an older video. He was claiming that one of his older videos was unedited, and Mike Caputo proved that it was edited. I could be wrong, but I don't think he was... Like, I don't think his Artspire video was proved to be edited. This guy says, but back in the days, I don't know what he means by that. And then, yeah, this is the one I replied to. I said, I watched YouTube in Brave browser. See down on the taskbar. Yeah. So I don't use Opera to watch YouTube normally. And so when I watched those videos, I was using Brave down here. And that's why there was no red bar to show the how much of the video I watched. My video isn't as much related to their videos as it is me giving a shout out to those videos for being good videos. All the videos I mentioned, Mike Caputo, Craig Reynolds, Tank the Tech, Dean Lamb, and Inspiring Mind. Yeah, so basically the only reason I mentioned those videos was because they inspired me to make not this video here, but the video we watched earlier. And I wanted to give them props for inspiring me on doing that, because I basically just, used their talking points. I went years without realizing how much editing was being done on albums, so I'm not sure that it's such common knowledge. I consider it to be a dirty little secret. Yeah, I definitely do. I think even now it's still a dirty little secret. At least for fans. Like if you're a musician, you might be more sort of in tune to the type of editing that goes on. But if you're just a fan, you might not even know that people do this. So you just listen to an album and you're like, oh, cool. A band is playing music. It sounds great. These guys sound amazing. Wow. But yeah, uploading an edited video while claiming it isn't edited, like what Lord Marco did, is just so obnoxious. LOL. Yeah. Exactly. And then he replies, it's common knowledge for anyone born from late 80s and onwards, because by the time you were old enough to get interested in music deeply, it was the norm and what everyone was doing. You just learned way back before it was a thing and then stopped keeping up with industry, I'd say. And we can all agree what Marco has done is disgraceful behavior, which is a shame because he is actually a really good drummer and he has pretty much soiled his image. Yeah, that's the thing with all these people who are editing their stuff. They're obviously good musicians. It's just they're so like autistic that they have to fix every little tiny mini mistake that they make to make them sound perfect. It's like, just leave the tiny mini, people probably won't even notice the mini mistakes. At least people like not the super hardcore musicians who look for that sort of stuff. But I know if you are a musician and you're practicing something a lot and there are specific parts of a song that you just can't get absolutely perfectly, that can drive you crazy. And then so you just end up using editing to like fine tune everything so that those parts of your performance don't drive you crazy. Now in my case, he says you just learned way back before it was a thing, and then you stopped keeping up with the industry. I'd say I was never keeping up with the industry. Never. I've only been in a couple bands. I've had my own band since I was 14, and I just record at home. And so I'm not really, I was never really aware of all the different recording techniques and stuff. I just recorded at home with how I knew to do it. But I was like super into music, and even I didn't know about all those things. I mean, if you're in a band and you're going into studios and stuff, then I'm sure. I've never even been in a studio. I've only recorded at home. So maybe I'm unique in that way. Yeah, like if you're in a band and you're recording albums in a studio, then you would probably be more aware of all these editing tricks. And for some reason, this comment chain appears twice. I don't understand. They're exactly the same. Okay. Let's go here. Any band worth its salt. I think it's supposed to be ITS, not IT apostrophe S. The only reason I'm mentioning that is because I feel like I learned that way too late. I learned that after I got out of school. I'm like, wait a minute. When do I use its and when do I use its? And I finally realized what the difference was. Any band worth its salt can reproduce the music live in real time in such a way that the live experience is way better than the album. The album is just a blueprint. In the last few years, I've seen Malignancy, Blood Incantation. I think that is the Black Dahlia Murder and Ulcerate. All but TBDM fall pretty squately in the tech category. Each one was way better live than recorded, but none of them falls into the newer hypertech Artspire Surreption. I have seen Surreption 10 years ago now, though, and they killed even at a little shit bar with bare bones sound production. Surreption, I meant to watch that. I don't know if I did or not. I think no. I think I did. I did listen to one song, and it was too groovy for my taste. I'm more interested in like the blast beat style of metal as opposed to the groove stuff. Yeah. So obviously, if you release an album, and you're portraying yourself as being in a band who can play the music, then you should be able to play the music live, right? Do they even exist? I'm really glad that this guy commented this. That's a reference to the end of the video. And then I say, LOL, this is like in Fred Armisen's SNL monologue where he keeps asking an audience member a question. Exactly. So I didn't know this at the time when I made the video, but I knew it had to do with Fred Armisen. And then I realized like a day or two later where I got that idea. And Fred Armisen hosted SNL I at least once. It was probably when he was doing Portlandia and he came back to host. And in his monologue, he talks about how he's doing a one-man show. It's not a real one-man show, but he's talking about, he's been performing a one-man show, and he does like an excerpt from it. And then there's this one part where he goes up to an audience member, and he's not asking her the question, he's asking himself the question, like right in front of her, and he's making it seem like he's asking her. And then she eventually answers him, and he's like, "No, you're ruining it. You're not supposed to say anything." It's very funny. You should watch that. But that's where I got that idea subconsciously. What the fuck? It's Rings of Saturn all over again. I thought that was a funny comment. I'm super out of the loop. What happened with them? Search Rings of Saturn fake in YouTube. Now, if I remember correctly, I don't think I remember correctly, but there was some. Yeah, I remember watching a video. Someone was in basically the front row at a Rings of Saturn show, and it sounded like Guitar Pro in the front row. So it was like perfect playing, and then there was sort of a big scandal, and I don't know if it got resolved or not, but let's go to the next one. Technical music gets superior scrutiny due to the can you actually play that level of talent required. Exactly. And that's why you shouldn't use editing in these super technical forms of music. Problem is, even simple music gets heavily edited to sound better. That's true as well, but it's simple music, so who gives a shit? Well, okay, I'm talking about like... No, even simple music... So it depends on what kind of music, I guess. I'm thinking of more of sort of like electronic music that is obviously really heavily edited or just simply made by a computer. But if it's simple music recorded by a band, yeah. If it's a band, I would want to hear a band playing it or like someone actually physically playing it. If it's electronic, then I don't really care, especially if it's programmed. Then obviously I don't care. If musicians are honest about the recording process, I don't see the issue, as the mixing, mastering, editing is an art itself. I completely agree with that. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem. Musicians aren't honest about it. I mean, they might be if they're asked about it, but you buy someone's album, they don't talk about that in the album, right? In the album notes. I do actually, but it's probably been a while since I bought an album, so. But yeah, obviously, album production is definitely an art in itself. You can definitely be very skillful at that. I am not skillful at mixing, mastering, and editing. So an example of the perfect blend for me is Surreption's Jord. Is it Jord or is it Jord? Is it Jordan? Is it Michael Jordan or Mikhail Jordan? Stick musicians with Buster Odholm at the desk. I love it. So I'm assuming it's Jord because Odholm, that has to be Swedish or Scandinavian, right? I don't know who that is, by the way. I think I listened. I don't know if I did. I did listen to one Surreption song. I don't know if it was from Jord, though. But the song I did hear sounded extremely overproduced. Necrophagus sound inhuman because I don't know how to say that. That's the guitarist from Necrophagus. Swismez isn't human. How does that relate to fake drums? You suck. So this was more of the line of comments that I sort of was expecting after making my video. And I said, LOL, he's obviously a good guitarist, but not a computer. Yeah. So this is the problem. People, they put this guy on a pedestal because that album sounds amazing. It just sounds way too perfect. And so that's what people do. They hear that and they think, oh, this guy's like a prodigy. He's amazing. This guy is like a hardcore autistic savant that he can just play a perfect song, absolutely no mistakes, and make it sound like a computer. But that's not the case. He is obviously good, but he's not a computer. And he says, how does that relate to fake drums? It's kind of funny. The first Necrophagus album has a drum machine, so those are fake drums. That's not what this guy meant, but I love this though. You suck. I love that. So that I like that. I remember there's this guy in that I played hockey with. Actually, this was in the mid '90s. And on his shoe, he wrote, I think on his left, just trying to remember here, he wrote "You suck" on his shoes. And that always stuck with me. I'm just trying to think of how they were oriented, how the words and the letters were oriented. I feel like he was looking down at his shoes and they were on like the toes of his shoes. So he'd be able to see it. And he was like reading it to himself. I don't know if that's true or if they were on like the side of his shoe. I can't remember, but I remember that. Okay, so we have another guy. Finally someone that talks about the root of the problem. I'm sorry to break it down for those who think that music and recording has evolved over the years. It's the exact opposite. Ever since computers entered the studio in the late 90s, the editing epidemic started spreading like wildfire to the point that now most people defend bands for delivering overproduced albums and hate on the ones that aren't using triggers, for example. And that's totally true. I agree with that. So I think, the digitization of music recording is a really good thing. It's just people, because it makes recording music a lot easier in certain ways, but people have gone overboard with how they use the tools. So I record music digitally, obviously. I started in the year 2000, I believe, and it's a lot more convenient. than recording. I used to record on cassette tapes. But it also gives you a lot more freedom and a lot more tricks. And so the thing that I like to do is I do enjoy the convenience about certain things, but I take like the mindset that I would take when I was recording onto cassettes. Like I would try and play the song without making a mistake, because then I'd have to like restart from the start when I was recording on cassettes. And so that's the same mindset I try to take while recording digitally. It's a lot easier to record digitally because, there's not a finite amount of tape. Well, I guess there is. You have a finite amount of disk space on your computer, but there's a lot of convenience involved with digital recording that I do not want to give up. But there are a lot of tricks, that sort of editing tricks that sort of people have been taken advantage of, and they have made recordings. They have taken recordings into a real bad place. So where did he go? If they're so good, why don't they record it to tape like every metal band did back in the day? That's true. They can't. Well, some of them can. Some of them are, like I said earlier, they're just obsessed with the tiny mistakes that they make. They're just obsessed that they can't play something absolutely perfectly, that they just have to edit it. The ability to produce sounds with ease at home brought with it immense amount of bloat. That's true. If there weren't computers nowadays, I bet only a small fraction of today's artists would be around. That might be true as well. It's hard to say, really. Because there were editing tricks back in, the pre-digital days as well. I mean, you could punch in to tape as well. I don't think you could quantize and stuff like that. Drum triggers probably existed, I guess. Electronic drums existed. But for those things to happen, you had to go to a studio. That's another good thing about digital recording. I record at home on my computer. I've been doing that for 24 years. And I don't have to leave the house. And I'm not going to give that up. Yeah, man, right? I give you one better. Why even use electricity, right? If they're so good, why use all the amplifications and stuff? Yeah, back in the days, everything was more natural, hence better. I think this guy was being facetious, sarcastic. But I actually sort of, I can see what he's saying here from like an honest perspective. I'm with Snail Man here. Instrumental music is about the performance, whether in studio or live. Now, I don't know what this guy is referring to, because Snail Man, the guy who made this comment, didn't refer to instrumental music. Instrumental music is about the performance, whether in studio or live. Okay, maybe he was just talking about like music that is played as opposed to like computer music. Okay, I think I just realized what this guy was saying. I had misinterpreted what this guy had said earlier. Whether in studio or live, yeah. Is about the performance. And then I say, I reply to this guy who made the sarcastic comment. I said, this, but unironically, and I give a link to one of my videos. I forgot I gave this link. I think we're going to watch this, actually. We're going to watch this video. Now, I have to shield my eyes. Okay, so the guy's comment, the sarcastic comment, was sort of taking it to the extreme. Why even use electricity, right? And so back in 2003, I was playing acoustic guitar, and I had recorded a version. So this is Shard 13 from Forever Trapped in a Broken Mirror, and I recorded it on acoustic guitar. And I screwed up, so I stopped. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm wearing a Nile shirt underneath, and that's back when I had hair, 2003, so that was 21 years ago. So that, I mean, I might as well, since we're here, I'll show you the recorded version of that song. So we're going to go to ISO, we're going to resize the window, we are going to go to Forever Chapter and Broken Mirror, we're going to go to... No, we're going to go to here. Shard. Wait a minute. What the hell is it? Where is this? It has to be this. Shard 13. Yeah. So let's listen. Oh, then I have to screw around with this. Yeah, so there you go. Are they tuned the same, by the way? I think they are. Yeah, I think they are tuned the same. Anyway, I just wanted to show that. Okay, now I've got to redo my music. Okay, let's just go back here. Come the shit on, man. Video music, that's what I want. Open. Okay, we are back. And then he says, we once did the whole rehearsal like that when the drummer was absent. Yeah, so playing metal unplugged is very fun. Even if you have a drummer. Well, it's kind of hard though. Because the drums sort of drown everything out. All right, so let's go to the next one. The problem was not with the editing itself, but with the fact that it is the audition. And moreover, that some of the dudes were adamant they're submitting raw live takes. Yeah, so at least with me, I didn't really make a distinction between both of those. I know everyone else did, but that's not what I was doing. Obviously, if you're sort of portraying your raw live take as a raw live take, then, and it's not, then that's a problem. Editing is fine as long as you can manage to pull off at least 95% of the song. Now, I don't like this idea of percentages. I don't think editing is fine if you tell people you edit. Yeah, that's what I would say. Humans are still humans. You can't play with no mistakes. Exactly. So when it comes to tech music with fast tempos, the more notes you have, the faster the speed, the more likely you will make mistakes. It's just natural. Exactly. It's no discovery that songs are recorded in multiple takes and sometimes with heavy production. It depends on who you ask. Hate to break it to you, buddy, but everyone edits their music. Doesn't matter the genre or whatever. Yeah, basically. Make it clear is different than speeding up or putting sounds you can't do. Now, this guy I don't think English is his first language. However, yeah, you can make out what he's trying to say, and it is agreeable. Make it clear. Now, that could mean various things, but yeah, making the sound clear, making the sounds clear is different than speeding up. Yeah, speeding up is never a good idea. You should never speed your stuff up in any way. Especially for something like Tech Death, where you're already playing at your limit. And then you speed it up to make it even faster? No. To be fair, I did speed up my drumming, and there's 2 songs on Forever Trapped in a Broken Mirror. And they have sped up drums. But I did mention them, that I sped them up, but I don't know where. I don't think I mentioned it on the original album. The songs are literally 12 and 14 seconds long. But Dave, my buddy Dave, he brought his drums over, and I was a complete noob. So I couldn't even play like a decent blast beat. So I played it really slow, recorded it on a cassette, and then I sped it up. And I recorded 2 songs. Yeah, so let's go to the next one. I was in a band that toured with Necrophagus in 2002, and I can say after watching Muhammad up close every night for a few weeks, he really is playing this stuff. I don't doubt that. I mean, I've watched the live videos of Necrophagus, and yeah, he can obviously play guitar. It's just my only issue was the guitar tone on Onset of Putrefaction. It was just, in the guitar playing itself, it was just way too clean. It was noticeably too perfect. Although I do agree with your larger point about modern tech death in general. Now, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could Google this guy, Neil Andrews. I'm assuming that's what his name is. So I don't know what band he was in, but apparently they toured with Necrophagus in 2002. Okay, it's okay to edit your albums because... Okay, it's okay to edit your albums because with albums, it's about the music and how the artists want to present it. I don't agree with that. It's about the music and how the artists want to present it. I mean, okay, it goes back to that thing where as long as you say that you're editing your album, then that's fine. I feel like that's fine, as long as you're upfront about it. But none of the musicians are upfront about it. And that's where the problem lies. It's just everyone is like, oh, everyone knows that everyone edits their albums. But no, they don't. How would they know if no one tells them? Auditioning or putting up a video of you playing flawlessly while having edited that is deceitful. Honestly, I don't think it's any more deceitful than editing an album and not telling people. Now, they serve different purposes. Yeah, but that's the thing I was talking about earlier. It's okay to edit, but you have to do it in this way. You're not allowed to edit this way. You have to edit it in this way. It's like it's a double standard. If you want to edit, trigger, and program your album, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, but just tell people. As long as you're also honest about it. Yeah, exactly. I don't get the obsession over how something has been done rather than what has been done when we're talking about albums or songs. They're art, not a sport. But they are a sport. they're definitely a sport. I mean, ask any of the tech death musicians. It's definitely a sport. I don't get the obsession over how something has been done rather than what has been done when we're talking about. Well, that's the problem, because tech death is one of those music genres that pushes everything to the extreme. And so you want to know if they're actually doing it or not. And that's where the obsession over how something has been done has taken shape. Okay, so this right here, this comment right here is sort of what made me want to make this video right now, because I was trying to reply to this guy. I tried multiple times, and I'm just sitting there on my keyboard, and I'm just unable to sort of express myself properly. And so I thought, okay, what if I just make a video where I can ramble on endlessly, and maybe I'll eventually come to whatever point I'm trying to make. And so I'm going to do that. And so I don't know how long it's been. It's probably been like over an hour. But we're finally at the I don't even know how to say this properly. Finally at the meat of the video. If the music you're listening to is good, why does it matter how it was created? I feel like I already responded to that here. It matters because tech death is an extreme form of music where musicians push themselves to the extremes of their abilities, to their breaking points, and it matters how it's created, because it matters if they can actually do it or not. If performance is more important to you, are you actually listening to the music, or is it just the technique and the performance you care about? So there's two ways I can take this sentence here. If performance is more important to you, are you actually listening to the music, or is it just the technique and the performance you care about? So in one way, it is the performance that's more important to me. Because if an album is heavily edited, it's unlistenable to me. I can't listen to it. Now, I don't know if that's what this guy is talking about, because he could also mean, if performance is more important to you, are you actually listening to the music, or is it just the technique and the performance you care about? So am I listening to someone's performance and how tight it is or not? I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but I mentioned this already in the video. I don't care how tight someone is. I would rather hear someone actually playing than having their album edited, highly edited. I've listened to some incredibly sloppy music before, and I'm completely fine with it. I don't care at all. There's this one Mutilation song, something of the Dark Countess. I forget what it's called. Something of the Dark Countess. It's a really good song. It's an amazing song. It's just the drums and the guitar go out of sync noticeably. Like, it's really noticeable. But I don't even care. It's a really good song. Or is it just the tech? Yeah, so it's not the technique. I don't care about the technique. It depends on what this guy is talking about. I'm talking about like playing technique. This guy might be talking about recording technique. I'm not sure. How does this work for bands that are all one performer? It's impossible for them to achieve the same sound as that record. Yeah, that's true. Obviously, I'm in a one person band, a solo project, or whatever you want to call it. If I'm listening to a solo project, I don't care about that. I mean, obviously, there aren't multiple people recording at the same time if it's just one guy. So what I care about is if each individual instrument is recorded, without heavy editing. It's impossible for them to achieve the same sound as on the record, yes. Or on top of that, bands that only have one guitar player play all the rhythm guitars when there's a second guitarist live. So this is another thing I wasn't sure. Are they talking about bands who only... Okay, I don't think this is what they're talking about. But this is another example. So like Pantera, they had one guitarist. And whereas on the album, I'm not sure if there was like an extra guitar during the solos. I'm not sure. I know sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there might be. I know there are other bands that they might have one guitarist, but they still have like a rhythm guitar track underneath, rhythm guitar track underneath the solo track. I'm fine with that. But then you have these other instances of bands who have two guitarists, and they only have one of the guitarists play all the rhythm guitars tracks on an album. Like they won't even use the other guitarist. They'll just use whoever's the better rhythm player to play all the rhythm guitars, right? I don't know if that's what this guy is talking about. Me personally, I think that's stupid. If there's two guitarists, just both of them should record. Even if one's better than the other, who cares? There's two guitarists, so play on the album. I never understood that, how you would only use one guitarist to play the rhythm section. Like I think Slayer did that. At least I heard that. I think that's really stupid, though. The fact is, most people care about the music. I feel like everyone cares about the music. Sure, a live performance is different, but you get a much different experience watching a band perform than listening to an album. Metallica even used tons of trickery in the studio, tracking at a slower tempo and speeding it up on record. If that's true, that is horrible. That is really stupid. I think, is he talking about the Black Album? I think probably. By the way, Metallica is not a good band. You've heard it here. If anyone's even watching this now, I'm planning on making a Metallica video, a Metallica diss video. I've always been anti-Metallica. I think they're an okay band. It's just they are way overrated. Hugely overrated. And I'm going to make a video exposing them for the frauds that they are. They're not frauds. It's just they have such a fucking huge fan base. And I don't understand why. And so I'm going to bring that out in a video eventually. So what did he say here? I'm sure a live performance is different, but you get a much different experience watching a band perform. Okay, I don't know how to reply to that. And then he says, what's the name of your band? If you play without editing at all, I'd love to check it out. Okay, well, I mean, my band is in the description of the video. And my band is Nostril Caverns / Time of Death. And so if you're asking if I play with no editing at all, well, I do use some editing. Like I use EQ, I use compression. What else do I use? EQ, compression. Sometimes I gate my toms. I noise gate my toms. What else? Oh, fuck you. Seriously. Like, what the hell was that? It almost crashed. So if he's asking if if I don't use any editing at all. So I started recording in 1997 on cassette tapes. So obviously when I was recording on the cassette tapes, there was no editing. And a lot of the stuff was recorded live as well when I was playing with a band. And then I started recording on a computer, and I was making use of the digital recording tools a little more. I wasn't recording in short sections in order to make it sound really tight. I would just sort of play, And my songs back then, they had naturally different sections. It wasn't like electric guitar through the whole thing. And so I would record this part, and then there was a clean guitar part or something, and then I'd start recording the electric guitar part. But it wasn't like I was recording tiny sections in order to make it super tight. I mean, so people use the recording tools in different ways. Some of them use them, very heavily in order to make extremely tight recordings. Other people might use it in a way that is just more convenient. For me, I would just I'd practice my songs a lot before I would record them, and sometimes I would make a mistake while I was recording. Sometimes I would leave the mistakes in, but if I made an extreme mistake, then I would just stop the recording and I would just continue from that spot. But it got to the point where I've been doing this for several years, and I wasn't playing live because I was just making music by myself. And so then I made a more conscious effort to, that's not to say that I used editing on everything. It would only happen if I made a mistake. Some of the songs I didn't make any mistakes on, any egregious mistakes. I'm talking about big mistakes. Now, in terms of, one mistake that I remember appears on Forever Trapped in a Broken Mirror right here. This is the original Forever Trapped in a Broken Mirror demo, Shard 1. There's a mistake on this, and I left it in. There's definitely more mistakes that I just can't think of off the top of my head. And then some of the songs don't have any editing at all, but it got to the point where I wasn't playing live because I'm only playing by myself, and I wanted to make more of an effort. I started to get into different forms of music, like math rock, and then also some jazzy stuff. And I wanted to put more effort into recording without using punch-ins or I never used. Did I use I rarely used overdubs. So I wouldn't just play, and if there was a mistake, I would just fix the mistake. I'd play, and if I made an egregious mistake, I would stop recording and just continue from that spot. But so this one right here, 2008, the classic fountain pen. That's when I made more. I really wanted to play this all the way through, and I didn't want to use any sort of editing tricks. Now, I don't consider it. I guess it depends on who you ask, but things like EQ, compression might be an editing trick, a bad editing trick, but it is handy for mixing. But for classic fountain pen, I recorded a full take, and then I didn't add any post-edit recordings. I didn't do any overdubs or anything like that. And then, so since then, I'm just trying to think, because I have used editing in some other albums, but this has no editing. Lemonade Breath. So this one, the original recording, it does have... I made a really bad mistake in one of the guitar tracks, so I stopped. It's halfway through the song, and then I started again from there. But then I made a live video that's not available anymore, unfortunately, because it was on Yahoo Video, and Yahoo Video died, and I never had a copy of the video, a backup copy of the video. But I recorded drums and guitar in this live video, and it was one full take. And so then Handsome Bank Teller, yep, no edits. Black Prog, no edits. Cora, this was recorded live, so obviously no edits. Play-Doh, okay, this one does have some edits. This one actually has no edits. This song, I know, has no edits. But I think there's I punched in at least once in one of these other songs. This was sort of like a demo. It's a trap. This was no edits on this. Moments of Time, that's recorded live. Flies, okay, so now Flies, no edits. Flies, was this? Yeah, so this is composed music. Bad Ending, this is all improvised music, so this has no edits. End of the World, this is improvised, no edits. A Panda, improvised, no edits. Escaping the Spiral Labyrinth, this is composed, no edits. Waiting for Water to Boil, this is... Okay, so this is drums and guitar. The drums I recorded in a full take, 10 minutes, no edits. And then I added keyboards to it after. And the keyboards I recorded in sections. Because I recorded and wrote the keyboards at the same time. Okay, The Restaurant, no edits. The Dying's Last Breath. Okay, this does have an edit. This is a very long song. I was still using my Windows XP computer to record, and so I was having problems with it. And if I was recording long songs, it would crash on me. And so for this one, it basically has like I don't know how long it is, like a 6-minute first section, and then a 6-minute second section, and then a whatever section in the middle. And so the first section and the last section, they're like black metal. The middle section is ambient, with an ambient mid-tro. So it's not an intro, it's not an outro, it's a mid-tro. And so I recorded the first part, and then I recorded the second part, and then I added them all together. So there were edits on The Dying's Last Breath. Though when I was practicing the song, I would practice it all at once. It was just when I was recording it, I recorded it in this fashion so that I wouldn't crash my computer. Inside the Cell, no edits. Future of Asexual Logic, no edits, except, okay, I'm very ashamed of this. This is the only album where I sample replace the drums. I was really trying to get a better drum sound, and I ended up sample replacing the drums, and I absolutely hate it. I'm ashamed that I did it. I don't think it sounds good, but I didn't change it. I didn't change it back because I feel like, I deserve it. Because I sample replaced, I deserve to be ashamed. This is like, this is my album of shame. So this is like, Dwight Schrute, where Michael makes him stand on his desk, and I think he has something around his neck that says shame. I think that was during the coup episode where he tries to take Michael's job. Very funny. So I'm ashamed of that, but it has no edits in terms of other edits, but it does have sample replace drums. Long Distant Aberration. Now this is the same setup as Waiting for Water to Boil. It is, the drums have no edits, but the keyboards are recorded in sections. Tragical Moral Illusions, no edits. Vague Evolving Patterns, no exit. No edits. This is a 20-minute long song, so that was quite interesting to do with no edits. Though I believe this has a guitar solo in it. And so, okay, yeah. Something else has a guitar. There's a guitar solo in here too. And so with the guitar solo, that's recorded on its own. So there are two rhythm guitar parts that appear for the entire song. And then there's like a guitar solo. So there's a guitar solo on one of these songs. There's also a clean guitar in this that was recorded on its own just for that part. So yeah, I probably shouldn't have said no edits exactly. Even though that's sort of, that does count. I'm trying to think. Inside the Cell does have a couple guitar solos. Most of my songs don't have guitar solos though. Cadaverns, that is drums, no edits. Repressed memory games, no edits. No solos either. Shapeshifter's Realm, that's recorded live, no edits. Self-inflicted memory losses is improvised, no edits. Spatial Lacerations, no edits, no guitar solos. Unveiled Webbing, recorded live. No. Was this recorded? No, it wasn't recorded live, but no edits. This is improvised. Sanity's Unnecessary Elaborations, no edits, no guitar solos. Perverse Teleportation, no edits, no guitar solos. Choice Trinkets, improvised, no edits. Spontaneous Synaptic Mutations, improvised, no edits. Luring oneself into the throes of make-believe. Honestly, I don't remember. I'm assuming no. Just trying to think here. Mistaken Lobotomy. Okay, so here we go. Mistaken Lobotomy. It does have edits. So, yeah. So with this song, the song was written and recorded. What did I say? I started by recording a one-try improvised drum take. Yeah. So I recorded the drums, and they were improvised. I had no music in mind. And then I wrote and recorded the guitar along to the drums. And so I recorded the guitar in sections as I wrote the song. So the guitars were edited, but the drums were, they were not edited. Seeping Orifice was the exact same thing, actually. I recorded an improvised drum take with no edits, and then I wrote and recorded the guitars along to the drums, piece by piece, section by section. This was the song, this Seeping Orifice, this was what I opened up in Reaper. In Reaper here. Yeah, so this is the drums. It's all one take for the drums, and the guitar is down here. And so this is where the guitar starts, and then this is the first section from 1 to 4. That's what I recorded first. Then from 4 to 6 is what I recorded. Then the next section is from 7 to 10, and then it's so I recorded like sections. These are markers, so a few markers at a time. There's a bunch of sections for this. However, for this song, Seeping Orifice, I did make a video about it where I talked about it. And I did take the time to practice the song in full. And I recorded a video of it, of me playing through the song on guitar. So, unedited drums. The guitars have edits, but I do have a video of myself playing the song with no edits on guitar. Non-conscious paradox. Okay, so this, non-conscious paradox, violations, permanent psychosis, cohesive deterioration, cries from a defective mind. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, non-conscious paradox. I was going to say they all have no edits. Non-conscious paradox, all of these have no edits on the drums. They're all 30-minute improvised drum takes. One take in for improvised drums. One try, first try. So there's no edits on those. But I believe with non-conscious paradox, it actually has a bit of a written melody to it. I wrote like a loose melody, and then I sort of improvised. But I believe I still recorded it with no edits. Yeah, so there's no edits on any of those, even for the vocals and stuff like that. And Planet Perceptions, there's no edits on this either. So I don't know why I went through all that, but I've obviously since 2008 I've tried to make more of an effort to get in the mindset of doing that. Check my covers and let me know what you think. Would love a reaction video. Sure, I'll post a reaction video soon. Give me a few days. Hell yeah. And I did do a reaction video. Greg A. Smith, this guy is a drummer, very good drummer. And I did a reaction video of his Archspire audition. So you should go watch that video. And you should go watch some of Greg A. Smith H's drum videos. Take a look into Ad Nauseum. They're completely natural and don't even trigger drums. We mentioned Ad Nauseum earlier. And now I'm not sure about this. They don't even trigger drums. Are you saying they don't even trigger the bass drums either? Because I feel like the songs I heard may have had triggered bass drums. It's very rare to hear a metal band, not just a metal band, but like a death metal band, and even a tech death metal band, not at least trigger the bass drum. Triggered bass drums are extremely common in extreme metal. So I'm a little unsure about that. But yes, we did determine that they're a good band. When you watch something that's being portrayed as if it's performed and recorded live, you have a different expectation than when listening to a studio album or watching a music video. That's performed and recorded, portrayed as if it's performed and recorded live. Yeah. It's true that plenty of artists also use overdubs and other studio magic when recording live albums or live concert videos, but I don't think comparing Instagram / YouTube / TikTok / etc. musicians to studio albums is fair. On a studio album, you expect studio work, not when watching someone on social media. Apparently that's not the case anymore. Because apparently that's what all the kids are doing. They're using all this studio magic in order to make their videos sound really good. So, I mean, that's another reason why I don't really see the difference between these audition videos having edits and studio albums having edits. Because everything has edits now. I don't think people have a problem of the punch-ins or whatever, but lying about it and saying it's one take or whatever is scummy as fuck. That's true, absolutely. If people are lying about it. Now, I know Lord Marco did lie about one of his videos, as was evidenced in the Mike Caputo video. So yeah, that's definitely bad. So if people are doing that, if they're literally saying that they're not using edits when they're actually using edits, when they are using edits, then that's definitely a problem. Definitely bad. But yeah, I do have a problem with the punch-ins. One of the Merlini guy's shorts popped up in my feed earlier. He is the most egregious, did I say egregious? Of the pair as far as I'm concerned. There are times he's barely tapping the snare and it's playing a full volume, perfectly articulated rim shot. Yeah, so that's the thing with triggers. You can sort of set it up so that there's no dynamics. Basically, no matter how hard you hit the drum, it'll always make the really hard sounding hit. And so you can play really lightly and get these really intense sounds out of the drum. And the only thing I saw on the snare was some type of external dampener and a microphone, no trigger. Tech Death has unfortunately been consistently getting more artificial for the last 20 years. A lot of it is so heavily processed that it's hard to listen to. I completely agree with that. Now, I haven't seen a lot of this guy's videos, Merlini's shorts, but I remember watching another drummer react to this Merlini guy a couple years ago. One of them, he was reacting to various Merlini videos, and one of the videos was Merlini playing on a pillow. He was doing his super speed on a pillow in order to show how good his technique was. Check out Ditheist? I believe I did and they weren't my cup of tea, I don't think. If I remember correctly, I think they were very bass heavy. The bass was very prominent in the mix. Now, if you're familiar with my music, I do not like the bass. So we've determined from this video that I don't like Metallica, and I don't like bass, and I don't like the way Tech Death is recorded. So I'm basically alienating anyone who likes metal. Anyone who likes metal. Basically alienating everyone. Caveat, I'm not a musician, so grain of pink Himalayan advised. What's that? Pink Himalayan, is that a type of salt? But deception aside, it is and should be condemned here. Yes, definitely. All kinds of fantastic music can be made using computers and editing, but it's all a bit cerebral and doesn't hit the same way if it's not something that can be played live by human beings. Now, I don't mind like computer music. But yeah, it should definitely be, you should definitely let people know that it's computer music, if it is computer music, and it shouldn't be portrayed as, you know, human music. My understanding was that Spencer could reliably play this stuff live with a reasonable human accuracy along with his bandmates. That's beyond impressive. This band writes stuff they can play. Yeah, they definitely do. Now, I don't know if I've seen any. I think I have seen a live Artspire video. I can't remember. I've definitely seen a bunch of Dean Lamb videos where he's playing his stuff. There was one video where he was teaching his wife some Artspire riffs. My understanding was that Spencer could reliably play this stuff live. Yeah, so I did watch a Spencer video where he was talking about, it was a very raw video. Someone was interviewing him, and he was showing his switch blast technique. And it sounded like a real drum kit, like he was playing it on the snare. And it doesn't sound like, you know, on one of these Tech Death albums. And then they also showed the bass drums, and they sounded like real bass drums. They didn't show the triggered bass drum, and I thought that was really cool. When I went to a Decapitated show, I saw both pre and post VTech. Post VTech Vogue was running an automated pre-recorded track for almost every song, and it sounded artificial and didn't hit like live guitar does. I wouldn't see them again knowing they still do that. Wait a minute. So he is basically like miming the guitar? Is that the idea? Post VTech Vogue was running an automated pre-recorded track for almost every song. Was he... Wait a minute. I don't know. Pre and post VTech. So was... I know one of the guys died. Was it... I think it was the drummer, right? Vogue. Is Vogue the guitarist? I don't remember. Was running an automated pre-recorded track for almost every song. So was it like a backing track, or was it the actual track and he was just sort of miming along? Because that's not cool if he's doing that. It didn't hit like live guitar does. I wouldn't see them again knowing they still do that. Now, I remember when Decapitated made it big, because that's when it was like late 90s, right? Late 90s or 2000 or something like that. And so I was on Napster. I was on a chat room, Napster chat room. And someone was like, "Oh, check out these guys. These guys are really young. They're really crazy." And I checked it out. Winds of Creation. I still remember how that first song starts. There's a lot of stop starting with the drums. It's very, very funny. On the other hand, when I saw Ulcerate, the guitarist was running an organic sound loop he created using something like a whirligig, and it sounded fantastic. I don't know what this sentence means. but he had to create it in situ. What does this mean? Which somehow made a huge difference. I don't know what this means either. In situ? Also, there's very creatively tricky tech bands. Tricky techie bands. There's very creative. It's a tongue twister. There's very creatively tricky techie bands that seem to make music every bit as demanding and interesting as the newer hypertech, but don't go in for the artificially hyperclean, over-articulated sound. Malignancy and Nile come to mind. Malignancy, I don't know if I don't know. Both kill and sound appropriately raw, both on the album and live. Nile, I've fallen out with Nile a long time ago. I think Black Seeds of Vengeance was the last Nile album that I liked. I mean, I don't keep up with Nile anymore. I sort of got sick of them. They're obviously really good musicians. I did listen to a Nile song, one of the drummers, a drum playthrough, like a drum cam, one of the Nile guys. But the music part, I mean, obviously crazy drumming, but I think probably my favorite Nile song is Multitude of Foes from Black Seeds of Vengeance. Also Serpent-Headed Mask from the earlier album. I don't even remember what it's called. It's like the Yellow and Black album. Okay. Ulcerate. I also don't know if I've heard Ulcerate. I've heard of them, but I don't know if I've actually listened to them. And we have the last comment. The last comment, Artspire waiting for a video that compares their recordings to their live shows and playthroughs. I mentioned this. I don't know if I've seen them a live video. I think I've seen one live video, but they're obviously really good musicians. So I assume that they would be very similar. A live video compared, or like a live recording, to their actual album recording. But even then, they do use edits on the albums in order to make the performances perfect. The guitarist from one of the Artspire guitarists said they use editing. So I mean, when you're listening to the album and there's edits on it, even if they can play it live, you're still listening to an album with edits on it. Even if they can play it, you're still listening to an album with edits on it. The album is what you're listening to. You're not listening to what they potentially could do. You know? So I would rather hear an album with no edits. That's just me. Other people feel the same way as well. Anyway, this video really got away from me. Is this 2 hours? 1:43, not bad. This is one of my typical rambling ass videos. I don't even know if anyone watches these, but I think I had a fun time making this. I do have some ideas for future videos, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to do next. I'll work that out right now. Anyway, until tomorrow. Until the next video, I should say.